All right, let's talk about QuickBooks Online. Specifically that bank feed. It can be a massive time waster or real headache. Well, today we are going to change all that. We're going to turn that frustrating chore into something smooth, efficient, and honestly, kind of satisfying. So, let's get into it.
Have you ever just stared at your screen thinking, I know this payment happened, why can't QuickBooks see it? If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. It's this super common problem where your books and your bank just refuse to talk to each other, leaving you to play detective.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle the bank feed headache itself. Then we'll peek inside the brain of QuickBooks to see how it thinks. We'll cover when you need to step in, how to fix those really tricky mismatches, and finally, how to get to a place of total bank feed zen.
Okay, let's start by just acknowledging the frustration. Mismatches are a real thing, and they happen all the time. Sometimes it's because something got put in the wrong category, or other times, QuickBooks just gives up trying to find a match. It's not you, I promise. It's just a common part of working with the software.
And this, right here, is the absolute core of the issue. The automation in QuickBooks is fantastic, but it can't read your mind. It's only as smart as the information you've already put into the system. If a transaction isn't there, or maybe the amount is off by a penny, that's enough to confuse the whole matching process.
So, to outsmart the system, you kind of have to understand the system. Let's pull back the curtain for a second and look at the exact step-by-step logic that QuickBooks follows every single time it pulls in new data from your bank. What's really cool here is that there's a clear order of operations. First, QuickBooks looks for a perfect one-to-one match, an existing transaction for the exact same amount. No luck? Okay, plan B. It checks if this money could pay off an open invoice or a bill. Still nothing? Right, on to plan C. It checks the custom bank rules you've created. And if all else fails, it basically shrugs and makes its best guess based on what you've done in the past. Now, this is a big one. This little detail trips up so many people. QuickBooks only searches for a matching transaction within a 90-day window of the date it actually cleared the bank. So think about it. If you wrote a check way back in May, but your vendor didn't cash it until September, QuickBooks might not find it automatically. It's just too old. That forces you to step in. And this breaks it down even further. You can see the two different worlds it's looking at. For money coming in, it's scanning for things like invoices, sales receipts, and deposits. For money going out, it's looking for bills, expenses, and checks. Knowing what it's looking for on each side of the equation helps you figure out why a match might have been missed. All right, so now that we know how QuickBooks thinks, let's talk about when its logic just isn't enough and you have to take the wheel. And this isn't a failure on your part, not at all. It's just a necessary step to keeping your books perfectly accurate. These right here are the four usual suspects. If a transaction's already been reconciled, if it was accidentally put into the wrong bank account, if the amount is slightly different, maybe because of a tiny bank fee, or, like we just talked about, if it's outside that 90-day window, QuickBooks is going to stop and wait for you to make the final call. And when you do have to intervene, the good news is it's really straightforward. You just tell QuickBooks, hey, find other matches, use the search tools to pinpoint the right entry, check a box, and click Save. And, you can think of it as teaching the software. Every time you do this, you're helping it get a little smarter for next time.
Okay, let's get into the more advanced stuff now. We're about to tackle the single most common, most confusing matching problem that bookkeepers run into. But don't worry, I'm going to show you the pro-level fix.
And here it is. You get one big deposit into your bank account, but that single deposit is actually paying off, say, 3 different invoices. Now, the software will let you match that one deposit to all 3 invoices right there in the bank feed. But this is a trap. It is absolutely considered bad practice because it creates a total mess in your bank register and makes reconciling a complete nightmare later on. So this is the crucial part. The right way, the best practice, is to always follow the proper workflow inside QuickBooks first. Don't touch the bank feed yet. First, you receive the payments against each individual invoice. But you post them to a special temporary account called undeposited funds. Just think of it like a digital envelope where you're collecting all the checks before you go to the bank. Then you create a single bank deposit that groups everything in that envelope together. And what's the result? One single deposit in QuickBooks that will perfectly, beautifully match the one single deposit from your bank. It's harmony. And hey, quick tip, if you ever make a mistake, we all do, and match something incorrectly, don't panic. Just click over to the Categorized tab, find that transaction, and click Undo. It'll pop right back into your for review list. No harm, no foul. Easy.
So we've walked through the problems, we understand the logic, and we've got the pro fixes. Now let's just put it all together into a simple strategy that's going to keep your bank feeds clean and your reconciliations a breeze from now on.
Let's recap the whole strategy. It's all about thinking with the software, not fighting against it. Understand its four-step logic. Be ready to take control when the details are just a little bit off. And always, always use the proper workflow, especially that undeposited funds trick to make your matches super easy. You master this, and you've basically mastered the entire bank feed. By really getting a handle on this one feature, you're not just getting your books organized. You are literally buying back hours of your time every single month. So the only question left is, what are you going to do with it? Thanks for watching.